Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. This week's episode is going to be my first live attempt in quite a while for EVE Talk, but considering how much easier it has become to stream on YouTube now, just basically set everything up and do one click of the button, I decided to give this a go and do EVE Talk live. So if any of you guys happen to come in here, feel free to ask me any questions. Let's head to the couch here. Let's also pause the stream so that I don't have it here. Everything did change just a little bit, and I see now that my text is not aligned exactly correctly. That's just a touch annoying, but it's still quite visible and still quite okay. So everything is on a new computer and with a new microphone, and I have to test everything out a little bit. And so yeah, this is all part of the testing. And well, we are here for the market, of course. This is an EVE Talk episode for people to watch later as well. So let's just jump right in here, and we will start as always with plex, and that's going to be at 140. So let's take a look at that here. First of all, plex have gone up quite a bit once again. Very worrying actually. They are up to 1,083 million almost, which is a jump up of 85 million pretty much, so more than 8% up in 1 week. That's quite a bit. Now we do see quite a bit of supply come in here, so that is interesting. Look at that, still less than a day old. Still less than a day old. We have to go pretty damn low, up to 1.1 billion, before we find sellers that are less than a day old. So there is a bit of pressure on the price at this point. But a jump of 8% when plex are already at a billion is quite something. So let's take a quick look here at the chart, and you can see the jump right here, 8% up, way above 1 billion. That was not in line with my expectations. Maybe a continued slow increase would have been something that I would have expected, but yeah, this is a bit of a surprise to me. And I don't know, it could be the end of the summer and a few big players that are speculating all of a sudden, and that they are going to try and make a lot of money before a possible drop during the winter. Something like that is definitely possible. But if you want to plex your accounts at these prices, that's actually quite a bit of effort that you'll have to put in here. So yeah, almost 1.1 billion data points at 1.1 billion. Plex have gone up quite substantially. Let's see if the multiple pilot training certificate also jumped up in a very similar fashion. That's interesting. Also just below 1 billion at the trigger point and going up to something very similar. But the sellers are at 1.2 billion for the pilot training certificate, and the buyers are still at 993 million, so below a billion. That's a really wide margin right here. Unfortunately, I think the buyers will have to follow after this, because you can't keep such a big margin anymore. That's going to have to be filled up, I think. Although it is a smaller margin market than plex itself, it's interesting to see that it is following the exact same pattern now, with a big jump just like that as well. And plex are at 1 billion for the buyers. So yeah, that does indicate to me that the buyers for the multiple pilot training certificate will have to go up a little bit as well to close that margin from the sellers. And yeah, let's go take a look at the pilot's body resculpt. And here we go again. We see against my expectation that the pilot's body resculpt certificate is its own little market. This is something pretty damn unique. That does not move in line with plex, despite the fact that, well, it's in the same category of pilot services. As it's a much smaller market, it's of course also a completely different price, 220 million around that, and it does something completely different. It's pure vanity, it's pure cosmetics, but I would have expected this to move in line with plex, because of how you would generally try to grab those with plex Aurum, and then you go for the pilot's body resculpt. But no, that one is actually staying flat, whereas the plex have shot up quite a bit, and the pilot training certificate as well. So pretty interesting stuff, and a little bit unexpected in my book. I don't know where this comes from. I think it's speculation. All right, let's move on to the minerals then, and that's going to be 520. let's take a look at what's happening in the mineral market. We see here that titanium has gone up a little bit, but it is stalling now at 5.4 ISK. That is okay in my book. I don't think that this increase in price is all that drastic. If you're a high-sec miner, it just means that you're making a little bit more ISK per hour off of this, and I think it's healthy for the mineral market. My expectation is that there's also a little bit of preparation for the new structures in this increase in price right here. It's going to be a major mineral dump when they do come. They should still come this year, so that should actually be a pretty big jump up right there. In the meantime, I see that we've got a few viewers, so if you have suggestions or questions, feel free to post those. I'll try and answer them or check it out as much as I can at the end of the stream. I think like maybe in the extras or something like that. At first we'll do Eve Talk the way I always do it. So let's move on to Pyrite then. Let's see what that one is doing. Very similar chart, just a little bit more hesitant and going down at the tail end here. Pyrite is also going up. Hello, Mata Dragon, I'll pronounce it like that. Don't do these live very often, but with the new system, I definitely want to check it out. So hopefully everything works out. So yeah, Pyrite up to try to get to 11.2, but it's actually going back down a little bit. You can see 20-day moving average that one is going up. Although only from 10.8 to 11 ISK, so not as pronounced as what we're seeing with titanium at the moment. 10.99 for the buyers and 11.63 for the sellers. A little bit of a margin. Supply wise, this is looking pretty damn healthy though. Look at that, 700 million, 200 million, so that's pretty much 1.5 billion units of pyrite that are coming in less than a day ago. And the buyers, they're pretty healthy here as well. 300 million here, 80, 50. Yeah, the 81 is still less than a day old, another 30 right here. Supply has a bit of an edge here. That's probably normal since we are at the top of a chart. Next up, we've got Mexalon right here. That one shot up, I think it was last week, and now it's still maintaining a little bit of momentum, getting the 5-day moving average above 50 ISK, which makes back about 50% of the territory it lost due to the ore and mineral changes in nullsec. Again, very good news for high-sec miners because they saw their profits drop off quite a bit, but with this you're actually making better money once again on mining for Mexalon, mining for titanium. Those do seem to be doing the best at the moment. Let's take a quick look at supply demand on this one. 49.51 for the buyers, 50.71 for the cheapest seller. That is a very tiny margin. I think that around 50 is where Mexalon is going to try to settle a little bit. Supply wise, as you can see, half the page is less than a day old. Not bad. 13 million units here, 13 million units here, another 16 or something like that around here. On the buyer side, still someone is supporting this price, 37 million at 49.5 ISK, and that's of course making sure that Mexalon doesn't drop off a cliff all of a sudden after this increase, which is again very good news for a stable mineral market at the moment. I do like that. It's a lot better for the miners here. So we'll probably stay in this range of 48 to 50 is what I'm expecting, but it could just be 48 to 52 that will balance in between there. So all right, Mexalon shooting up a little bit as well. Let's take a look at Isogen, another high-sec mineral. This is, I think, really good news because Isogen had dropped off very steeply, going from 130 to below 100 ISK. That was a serious drop off, but you can see that the counter movement in Isogen has been a bit more violent, so we went up to 115, a bit of hesitation, but we're actually breaking 115. So it is really looking good for the high-sec minerals at the moment. They are going up, and as I've said, my expectation is that this has a lot to do with the new structures that are going to come out. 113 for the buyers, 118.9, 119 pretty much for the sellers. Again, very small margin considering the price here. Pretty healthy supply. All of this, pretty much the entire front page here is less than a day old. You've got 10, 20 million, 16 million here. Not bad. Demand a little bit less. I think that's normal considering the increase in price here, but it is still there. Here we've got 15 million. That is putting a bit of a floor on the price because it is a little older, but you still have 3 million coming in and 4.5 million coming in here as the latest orders, like less than an hour ago, in fact less than 10 minutes ago. So it's still looking pretty decent, pretty robust, and there's a good chance that will settle as well for Isogen, like around the 115 price mark, which again for the HiSec miners is good news. You're getting a bit more bang for your buck that you're spending while mining in HiSec. Hakon, will I do this more? I will definitely try. It all depends a little bit on the timing, but I will definitely try to bring ETH Talk on Saturday live. I need to find the right time to do it. So it depends a little bit on my schedule, but considering how easy it is, how easy a time I had to set it up, yeah, just one press of the button, I will try to do this live more often for sure. Next up here, we've got Noxium. Very good to see Noxium crawl out of the hole as well. That one had really been doing some things that I was not expecting, behaving in pretty much its own way. Noxium, I always consider that to be a bit of a unique a mineral in the sense that sometimes it behaves like a gnostic mineral, very prone to speculation, to sharp upticks and sharp drops. On the other hand, sometimes it also behaves like a HiSec mineral. So it has sources a little bit everywhere. It's a little different from basically any other mineral. And as you can see here, it really dropped off very steeply. I would say even more steeply than Isogen, going from 680 very sharply to almost 460 as its bottom. That was quite worrying. How long also this lasted. So it's only in the last few weeks that Noxium actually went back up a little bit, and now it does look like it has a little bit of momentum. So we see 501 for the buyers, 542 for the sellers. 542 is right here on the chart, so even higher than the chart is already indicating. In fact, above the settling of the price after Fosisov. This brings Noxium back in line a bit more with the other HiSec minerals at the moment, and I think that that's okay. I tried to buy, I think, close to this low point, so I'm already gonna make a little bit money on my Noxium stocks, but yeah, minerals across the board seem to be going up. So that's good. Last week we did see that the nullsec ones, so Zydrine and Megasite, were going down substantially. I had no idea what was really going on, but we can see here that Zydrine said, the Zydrine market at least said 1200 is enough. We're bouncing off of that. Hopefully for the people that want to produce stuff and buy stuff like me, it will actually calm down here and settle at around 1200, maybe 1250, something like that. Current sellers 1312, current buyers 1275, so 1300 isk price range for Zydrine is a bit more likely. Supply wise, this is still looking quite okay. I mean, all of this is 89, so I would say the majority of the front page is less than a day old. 4 million, 2 million units, 20 million units, even less than a day old coming in here. There is still more supply than demand here for Zydrine. That's going to put a bit of pressure on this, and so I do think we'll settle close to 1300, maybe even lower than that. Looking decent, but it's not going to fall off a cliff or not come anywhere close to 400 we started 6 months ago before the mineral changes. And then Megasite, that's a little bit unfortunate, went back the most. In fact, if you can see it on the ticker right there, 25% increase in Megasite on a 1 week jump. Now granted, it did drop off quite substantially as well, but I missed a little bit out on this opportunity. I would have liked to be able to purchase Megasite last week and this week for close to 1400, which is apparently the trigger for, okay, that's enough on the market, that's low enough. But the counter movement has been quite violent, moving straight up through 1600, and so that's quite a lot higher all of a sudden. Not really very good news. 1661 for the buyers, 1760 for the sellers. Yeah, the mineral market seems to actually be in a general uptrend. The nullsec minerals, because they were so high, did pull back to trigger all of this, but now it does look like all of them are going to move up a little bit. And to me, that does indicate that people are actually preparing their stock for the new structures that are coming out. So unfortunately, for people that want to buy stocks of nullsec minerals, that buying opportunity could already be over. For the HiSec miners and the nullsec miners, this is of course good news. You're making more money on all of this. That's it for the minerals, I guess. Oh, we will touch on morphite. Someone always mentions it when I don't check it. Morphite is a bit of a unique mineral in that it's not used for Tech 1 production, but for Tech 2 production. It looks like it's actually stable at 12,000. Which it's been for quite a while already now after the mineral change. So mineral changes, the composition in nullsec changed, that had a big impact on the prices for the nullsec minerals, especially. HiSec dropped off, nullsec increased in price. You can see that right here with a big spike to 14,000, but morphite has managed to maintain itself at 12,000. So next up, let's take a look at some Tech 1 chip. Let's see if there's an impact there. That's gonna be 1550, something like that. I'm writing down the time so I can add them later to the description for people that want to watch Eve Talk after I do it live. And I added a few more. I had to redo everything, so I tried to get a bit of all of the races going. Here is the Armageddon chart. It's obviously stabilizing at 200 million here, dropping off just a little bit. But Armageddon is at a high point. I think it's another Amar battleship that I checked before that dropped off to the prices from before. 6 months ago, from at around 6 months ago, I should say. But yeah, the Armageddon is maintaining itself at a high price of around 200 million. Armageddon, of course, is actually a very good ship, considering it is a drone ship with missiles. I love that combination, very, very powerful. So I can imagine that it's actually very popular at the moment. Could also be something that's flown a lot by CVA. Maybe they've bought up in preparation for the war against the Imperium. That's a possibility as well, that something like that has kept the price a bit higher. You can see it tried to drop off a little bit, maybe going back to a lower average, but it just wasn't in the cards. Next up here we've got the Caracal. Let me see. I'll quickly check on the comments here. And my only thought on live broadcasts, while awesome, will make the recorded vids odd to hear you responding to live chat where there is no reference visible on the posted video. Yeah, that's kind of true, which is why I'm not going to go through too many comments while I'm doing the general Eve talk, so it should still be a pretty smooth experience. But I do like to have like some feedback at the end of Eve talk when I've gone past the Tech 3 ships. Then feel free to post some comments or some goods that you want me to check, and I'll definitely try and do that at the end. So I think it should still work out for the format, and hopefully everyone else will agree. So next, let's pick the thread back up. Then here's the Caracal. Again, working on another spike. Caracal is a nullsec fleet ship, a nullsec fleet doctrine, and so this is what you see quite often. The price finally reached 11 million, which again was the average we saw 6 months ago, but I guess a big entity said, okay, I'm gonna make a few Caracal fleets, buy them in bulk, and thus increasing the price all of a sudden to almost 12.5 million. It is a bit unique to very popular ships that you see a much more violent chart. Still, keep one thing in mind, this volatility is a bit deceiving. It only goes from 11 to 12 million. That's not such a big jump. It's less than 10%, and they're always very short-lived because the industrial potential in EVE is still very high, and thus those gaps get filled in very quickly. Next up here we've got the Dominics, breaking out a little bit. That's kind of strange. I would have liked to see the Dominics stay close to 195 here. As you can see, it went up a little bit. I think this was in preparation to the mineral changes. Then it actually dropped off to 190, stayed well on its 195 average, but here it's actually going up quite a bit. Honestly, looking at it now, it could just be the redesign. Let's see if we can actually see it right here. So the Dominics did get a redesign. I think that could be the reason why here all of a sudden we see the Dominics breaking out a little bit. Supply wise, that's looking pretty damn healthy. The majority here is less than a day old, 31 of them coming in here. Demand seems decently robust as well. So I think it could just be the redesign that says, okay, I'm gonna buy a Dominics because it looks so cool now. Next up here, I've added the Drake. It's been a while since I've checked on the Drake. Used to be 45 to 50 million for a Drake. Again, going up in price. That should be the changes to the launchers. It should make the Drake a bit more efficient. Although you can see that on the last 6 months, the Drake has gone up gradually from, I would say, 50 million, yeah, up to 54 million, something like that. So nothing too drastic, but here we do have a little bit of a spike up all of a sudden. So supply wise, it's coming in already. So the response, as I've said, is always very fast. People saw that they could sell Drakes at above 53 million. So here they're coming in with, well, all of this is new supply, still new supply. So we gotta go here with 24, 32, 10, then a whole lot more Drakes coming in, then another 11, 14 and 20. All of this brought to the market less than a day ago in response to a price spike like this. So this will actually normalize quite quickly. If there's too much supply coming in on the Drake, we could actually see it drop off below 52 million. I think if it has enough momentum, if there is more supply coming in, I think that's possible. Next up, we'll check on the Mauler, and this is what I am used to seeing for a Tech 1 ship. Very, very stable. A couple of price spikes. Of course, people might have made a few Mauler fleets bottom straight off of the Jita market, causing this price spike. But as you can see, very short-lived, very fast response, sometimes even a bit of an over-response on this first spike right here. As you can see, a drop of close to 10.5, but the average of 11 million, that's the price of a Mauler, and this is, I think, good for the Tech 1 market. I like to see it stable so that ships are affordable. You know exactly what you need to save up for getting the specific ship you want. And that's what tends to happen here. Here's the Myrmidon. You can see gradual increase in price for the Myrmidon. I was expecting a bit more stability when the Myrmidon came back to 51 million right here. That may just have been over supply due to the spike to 56 million right here. And now the Myrmidon is going back up again. But at the tail end, you can see the chart drop off again. We are going to cross the 20-day moving average. So I think there's a good chance that we'll drop off again, and that then we will keep the average Myrmidon price like 52 to 53 million, something like that. Sort of strange to see all of this volatility in the Myrmidon. Before this, it was really one of those very stable ships. Next up, the Oracle. Oracle is a tier 3 battle cruiser. That one is a little bit different from most of the other ones in that it was more expensive to produce due to the mineral changes. So we went up from 74 million to an average of about 80 million right here. And then some volatility here once again, and now we're breaking out once more towards 83 million. So yeah, Oracles might be very popular. I can imagine that if CVA, which like a group that likes to fly a MAR, is looking for some sniping ships, they could be going for Oracles, and that could, once again, it could be the war impacting this market. You can see pretty much all of this, all of the supply here, except for maybe 20 ships are new, and so it's pretty obvious that someone came in, bought Oracle fleets, and that now the industrial response has to happen and will happen. By next week, I think we'll see a lot of ships that will have come to the market, and we'll see the price actually correct back a little bit. But don't expect the Oracle to drop back to 74, something like that. It costs more to produce. Next up, the Raven, a Kaldari battleship in the mix. That's a bit better. You can see a little bit of volatility, but starting at 182 and ending at 182. So a Raven is decently stable. It's decently well supplied. As you can see right here, there's only 3 new sell orders, maybe 4, less than a day old, but there is decent demand here as well. There is decent supply that is still remaining from all of this. So there is no reason to think that the stability in the Tech 1 market is in any danger, although yeah, all the minerals going up across the board could in a few weeks have an impact if it stays like that. Next up here we have the Stabber that starts at 11 million and ends at 10.6 million, very stable in the last few months, so that is quite okay. All of this volatility, again, I think just buyouts to make Stabber fleets. Sort of strange that no one is making a move at these prices. Maybe they hope for another drop to like 10.2 or 10 million, but as I've said, the industry in EVE Online, it's player driven. They do tend to know what they're doing, and so at the moment I think people are just putting enough Stabbers on the market so that it's managing to maintain its price. They're not going to flood the market, considering that there are better opportunities like the Oracle at the moment, for instance, or the Drake, which are on high notes. I think they're much more likely to produce more of those than more Stabbers, which are so stable. Next up here, the Tornado, again showing the difference between a tier 3 battlecruiser and most of the other Tech 1 ships. Obviously stable, stable since like the beginning of June, but at 73 million, whereas we come from 65, 67 million for a Tornado when they were first launched due to the changes. And then here we have a Typhoon, a Minmatar battleship. Again, decently stable, up a little bit on 6 months, but really also coming off of a high, dropping off. So I think if the correction here has some momentum, we could go back to like 174 average price for the Typhoon. Do we see some supply coming in here? We've got 22, 32 here. So the response to the price spike right here up to 180 is here, and yeah, I think it will have a little bit of momentum going back down. And then finally I chose the Vexor Galente cruiser, so a bit of a mix of the races, trying to get a feel for all of that. But the Vexor actually dropping off to a low for 6 months here, gonna break 11 million, but 11.2 seemed to have been the normal price for Vexor. A little bit of volatility with at around the time of the mineral changes, but overall, you know, Vexor very stable ship. Also a decently popular ship for PvE activity, so it's a go-to ship in preparation for something like the Ishtar. Supply here pretty healthy, 20, 46, 12. Those are pretty big numbers, and are 56 coming in here. All of that 1 to 2 days old. That's quite doable, but demand is decent as well, a little bit lower actually, because I can't drop down here. So the Vexor is going to go a bit lower. It could be that all of a sudden someone is saying, okay, I'll buy out a lot of Vexors. Who knows, could be a throwaway fleet or something like that for a major alliance, and then we'll see that go back up. At the moment, yeah, the Vexor, the only one I'd say at a 6-month low at the moment, but nothing too dramatic, I don't think. So next up, the Tick 2 markets, 2650 for that one. So yeah, doing it live does take a little bit more time, but yeah, let's take a look at the Tick 2 market. I love the Tick 2 market for trade potential, and as you can see, I also changed it up a little bit. That was actually a suggestion. Don't always check only the logistics and the stealth bombers, so I think I added a few different chips in here as well. Here's the Basilisk. That is absolutely lovely. I told you guys last week Basilisk is coming in interesting territory, dropping off to like I think it was around here, 180, something like that. But 175, you can see that is the trigger for volatility for the Basilisk. Look at that, you could have bought them probably below 180, and now you can sell them at close to 220 million. Perfect example of trade potential of the Tick 2 market. So that is actually really nice to show right here. It's unfortunate that your buying opportunity is over, but if you made your move here, you can actually make a big profit on selling Basilisk ships. Or if you have them lying around, I think it would be a good time to bring them to the market. Of course, riding that upwave is the very best of scenarios, but that's always very hard to actually time. Next up here, the Cerberus, also jumping up. Reason for Cerberus, possible reason for Basilisk is again the war. One of my viewers did explain to me that he saw a lot of fleets focused around Cerberus during the war, and so this could be a response to that. Shield ship, so Basilisk, possible, of course, possible logistics for those fleets as well. And so that one going from 200 million to 230 million, more than a 10% jump, not bad, although I would not have been able to spot it myself, considering we had to break 190 for volatility to show up before this. So could be that the trigger went up to 200 million because of the war, but I would not have bought Cerberus on this decline just yet. I would have hoped that it would go even lower. Next up here, we've got another different one. Here is the Enyo. Frigates, a little bit more tricky, I think, because they tend to have very stable periods. You can see that right here with the Enyo. You had a great buy opportunity at 9.5, but that's quite a while ago in May, and now we're back up to 23 million. So if you manage to buy here, good stuff, but knowing when to sell, very hard to say, considering we've got a little spike here, another one here, but still not the high. The high point is right now at around 23 million. So if you have Enyos lying around, or if you can make them, probably a good idea to sell them at this point. Next up, we've got the Guardian, one of the logistics that is not moving as much as I would like it to. Right here, that was awesome here, a drop to 115, very low price. And then went up to 140. That's a decent profit, but skipping that variation between 130 and 140 is just too low, and so I would not make any move on the Guardians at the moment. Next up here we've got the Hound, Stealth Bomber. You can see that that one still has some volatility potential. It broke 16.5. I think on major oversupply, so you could actually probably pick him up close to 16 million on the buy orders, and now we're already back up to 18.5. Considering the size of the investment, that's a decent profit. At the moment, I would not be afraid to put some hounds on the market. Next up here, we've got the Ishkur. It showed some volatility. It's also a new one, so it has some potential, but considering where it is at 23 million, between its high point and its low point, you know, you're not gonna buy Ishkars at this price, you're not gonna sell them either. You're gonna wait for this to drop off close to 20 million, make your move then to buy them, wait for some volatility up to 22, 24. It has the potential to do that, but be careful. Again, it's an assault frigate. It's a lot easier to bring a lot of them to the market, so it's a bit harder to time, I think, than the others. Here's the Ishtar, my favorite ship. What I like about this chart is that we do see the impact of the nerfing of the Ishtar. Ishtar used to be basically the ship in EVE Online. It did the most damage in PvP and PvE, something like that. Crazy numbers. So CCP did make a move on it, and I think that's this drop off right here from 175 to below 155, but that was a little bit low for the market, so now we're actually moving at 160. I added it here because it is such a controversial ship at the moment, but it is not one that I would use to try and make some profitable trades off of, because it is right in the crosshairs of the ban hammer. You never know when the next hit is gonna come, and so it's not in its popular phase at the moment. So no, I included it in EVE Talk, but I would not make any moves on the Ishtar at the moment. Next up here we have the Manticore. That's really nice, honestly. I had not spotted the jump from 22 million up to 26 million. Then I said at 24, no, that's right in between this once again, don't make a move. But look at that, breaking out up to 32 million, sellers or at 30.5 million. Yeah, that Manticore, wow. You could have made quite a bit of money on this against my expectation, because it is the most expensive stealth bomber. I guess it could be a popular stealth bomber, and with the war going on in CVA space, it is possible that people needed to replenish them quite a bit more, but that would have been a lot of money. Can you imagine? You could have bought them below 24 million, definitely, maybe even close to 22 million at the previous buy opportunity, and now you can sell them for 30 million. 30% profit in about a month. That's pretty damn good. So yeah, Manticore showing again the potential of the Tech 2 market. Next up we have the Nemesis, also breaking out, very nice, dipping to 18.5 million. I think I may have said, okay, if this goes lower, could be interesting. And so that seems to be the trigger here, 18.5 million. You could have bought them close to that price, jumping up to 21 million here all of a sudden. Not bad either, really good potential. If you have Nemesis lying around and you're willing to sell them, I think this is the time to do so. Next up we have the Oneros here. The spike is over and it's managing to maintain a price of 150. Again, this is a chart. It happens from time to time in Tech 2 ships. You don't always see those major spikes. And here, again, unfortunately, Oneros, no, it's not the time. I actually did make a move on this one, so I made a bit of profit from a 135 to 155 increase in price right here. But at the moment, no, that's not a ship I would trade in. Next up here we've got the Purifier, so it's obviously due to the war, I think, considering that all the stealth bombers are jumping up. Either that or a really big player is trying to manipulate the market. Yep, really nice jump up here as well for the Purifier. We're currently selling those. Well, it's empty. If you have Purifiers lying around, I would say bring those to Jita, because you'll be able to sell them for 35, definitely above 30 million, which is pretty damn good, considering that you should buy Purifiers for 18 million or even lower than that, close to 16 on the best buy opportunities. A doubling in price is definitely in the cards if you've managed to buy them at the right time. So yeah, the Purifier market is just empty. Pretty amazing situation, something I've not seen very often. Next up here, the Retribution, assault frigates. That's just too stable, so I may actually just remove that one. Maybe remove a few assault frigates, keep one to keep an eye on it, but not that hot, honestly. Not as hot as stealth bombers and logistics cruisers. Look at that Basilisk chart, look at that Hound chart, look at that Purifier chart. Crazy stuff there, so I do like those ships quite a lot, especially during a war. Looks like something that you might want to keep an eye on. Next up here we have the Scimitar, again dropped off to 130. No sign that was the bottom, but looks like it was. Jumped up to 145. That's more than 10% increase. Again, you can definitely make some money on those trades. So yeah, logistics bombers, they're hot this week. Pretty good. And here's then the Vengeance. All right, an assault frigate that actually does make a little bit of a move. So you can see here again a very low bottom below 16 million with a nice response up to 20. That shows some trade potential in the Vengeance. But here we dropped off close to 18 million. Probably should have been able to buy them below that, and now we're back up to 21 million again. So time to sell Vengeances as well. Matthew, the Maniac, what am I talking about? The Imperium invading CVA space, invading Providence with the aim to burn it down. Against my expectations, and I think the expectations of most people, CVA is actually putting up a fight. They're coming out with fleets, trying to defend timers, trying to make the job of the Imperium as hard as possible. And it means content, it means ships blowing up, and if you can then know the doctrines beforehand, well, you can actually make a killing on the market. As you can see right here for Cerberus, Basilisk I think is very likely to be due to the war right there between the Imperium and Providence, and of course pretty much the only war in New Eden. That also means that a lot of other parties do go there to try and have some fun, join in on all of the action, which is finally some good news for the market, I guess. And then next up we'll go for the Tech 3 ships, so that will be 3630. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a long Eve talk, but alright, let's take a look here at the Confessor. Confessor increased in price quite substantially, looking for 40 million. Honestly, I think most tactical destroyers are gonna look for that as a price. And this could again be due to the war. If you want something that at least can counter the interceptors, which are now limited to 4,000 kilometers a second while doing the endosis action, that I think tactical destroyers are a go-to ship, and a Confessor I think is something that could really counter that pretty well. So I think that's part of the explanation here as well. Next up, the Hecti, staying at 40 million, pretty stable, the newest of the tactical destroyers, so that market still needs to find itself. But one thing to keep in mind, Tech 3 supply, I've said it quite often, there is huge industrial potential in the Tech 3. I guess Wormhole space has become a lot more stable. As you can see here, right here, 10, 30, 10, 23, 15, 18, the latest sell order. There is really big supply and always a lot of pressure, although here the Hecate also went up to 45 million almost. The buyers are staying though at 38 million. For the Confessor, we're up to 41 million, buyers at 39. So I think the market is looking for 40 million on the tactical destroyers as they find their uses, they find their fleets. And it's actually good news because they had settled very, very low at very thin margins. Here's the Jackdaw then, probably a move up. Yeah, a move up to almost 50 million, interesting. Yeah, I guess people are actually finding their uses for the tactical destroyer, because 49 million, you can see though 32, 26, those are pretty big supply numbers, taking advantage of the higher Jackdaw prices. But the fact that we're now with 8 Tech 3 ships rather than 4 does mean that the industrial potential is spread out a bit more, and thus we get more volatility in the market. Pretty good stuff. And so yeah, the Jackdaw going up to 50 million, supply drying up. If you have some, I think it's a good time to bring them to the market, because considering the industrial potential, it's gonna be short-lived, I think, once again. Here's the Legion then, much more stable, actually dropping off below 145. And despite that, this is what I mean here, despite that, the first half here is less than a day old. We've got 363, 60. Someone actually thought it was a good idea to bring 60 legions at 143 million. That does show that there's just too much being produced for the Tech 3 market at the moment. If you're still willing to sell 60 legions at 143, considering the downward momentum here. Next up, the Loki then, yeah, Tech 3 cruiser also going down substantially, heading for 140, sellers in fact at 140, buyers at 135, and despite that, 10, 6, 19, still 2, 2, 1, 6 of them, still supply coming in here, whereas, well, I think it would be a lot wiser at the moment to bring in some Jackdaws, but of course, you have to learn those timings as well. And if you've produced all those logos and you want the funds, well, then what are you gonna do? Just keep them lying around to sell who knows when? Probably not. Next up here, the Proteus, probably also dropping down. Yep, definitely some downward momentum. 142 for the sellers, 138 for the buyers, and despite that, still 40, 51, 10. That is what I mean with the oversupply in the tech tree market. Despite the fact that we're seeing the new destroyers show some volatility. Here again, the Zweppel went up to 44, still a little bit of momentum up to 46 as well. And let's take a look at supply numbers. 10, 30, 39, 30, 15, 56 of them about 10 hours ago, 26 here again. So that pressure on that price is there. Keep that in mind. We're actually below 44. It's gonna go lower. I actually expect the tactical destroyers to hover around 40, maybe 40 to 45 as a price range. And then the cruisers 140 to 150. But with that constant pressure right there. Here you can see last week the Tengu did break out quite substantially, but just as sharp as that one went up, it went back down as well. And let's take a look at the supply of this market. Yeah, that's just crazy. All of this is less than a day old, and we're talking 11, 12, 43, 36, 11, 22, 10. Everyone trying to sell those Tengus at the higher prices. Extreme pressure on the tech tree market, and so that's been the pattern for more than a year now. Luckily the destroyers have switched things up a little bit, gave a bit more potential for volatility, but any of it tends to get just squashed by that oversupply very, very hard. And so it's very difficult, I think, to actually make a lot of money on tech tree production. So that's my usual cover of Eve Talk. And I have a few things that people wanted me to check because of the war, so I'll do that now. Extra product at 42 minutes, we'll put it like that. And yeah, if you have anything else you want me to check, feel free to put that in the comments right now. In about 30 seconds after the delay, I will probably have seen them and maybe try to check them. If not, we'll just do Eve Talk as I always do it, ending up. So one of them was the Cerberus we saw right here. Cerberus already, I actually took it in the Tech 2 market, but that's obviously potentially more volatility, plus Shield Logistics, the Basilisk right here also jumping up. Oh, and it's actually, yeah, interceptors. That's actually another one. So ships that tend to be used a lot in this war are fleet shield fleets like Cerberus, Basilisk, that seemed to have been something that was flown quite a lot, and of course the interceptors used a lot to troll Endosis stuff. So let's take a look at those. That could actually be interesting indeed. Let's see what the impact was there. So we're talking advanced frigates, interceptors. Amar has Crusader chart, yeah, taking off a little bit. That could be due to losses in the war. I think that's definitely a possibility. Next up here we've got the Malediction. Obvious breakout of the Malediction, quite substantial, from 17.5 million. Current sellers 20.5 million. So indeed, very nice opportunity that is unfortunately past. I mean, if you still have them lying around, you can try to sell them, but it's not like you're going to be able to buy Maledictions and then sell them very, very quickly at the moment, because, well, it's all happening. Next up here we've got the Crow, obviously breaking out as well. You could have bought them for 21 million. We're currently selling them for 33 million. Yeah, that's not bad. Here's the Raptor, again, very similar. So those were awesome suggestions. I don't remember who it was anymore that convoed me, and that said, well, try to check those out for the next Eve Talk, because you're right on the money. This is indeed the war showing up on the market, and the interceptors, they're so popular, but they're being lost quite a bit, I think, due to the changes in the Endosis mechanic. And so we see this jump up here. The RS quite a bit less of a jump up, but it is here, and so I guess the RS may just not be that popular, but that tends to happen. Of course, here's the Taranis. Maybe people just don't like Galente Interceptor for some reason, because that one is actually staying put, but the Kaldari and the Amar one have already shown that it is happening. Here's the Claw, again, very nice jump up from 16 million, jumping up to 20 million, current sellers 20 million, something like that. Here we do see a pretty big supply move. Could be that a lot of people were actually ready for this. And then finally here we have the Stiletto. That one is up, well, not that much. So I guess, yeah, it's really the Amar ones and then the Claw that are used quite a little bit, probably because of speed or some slot layout or something like that. But that was an awesome suggestion. This shows why EVE is such an awesome sandbox game. We've got that incredible war. Well, incredible war. We finally have a war going on in Nosek, and we can spot and see impact on the market in what's being flown and lost a lot there. So hopefully we'll see even more war coming soon. Then I'll have interesting stuff to show and share on EVE Talk. And well, it's 2:30 a.m. so my god, Mata Dragon, thank you very much for sticking through it. Then, since I don't have any suggestions in the comments either, that's going to be it for this EVE Talk. As I've said, I'm going to try and do them live. I'm not making any promises, but yeah, hopefully I can find a good time and a decent format for EVE Talk to include some live chat and yeah, some interaction with you guys as well. For now, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.